You're too broke, too boring, and too weak for any woman to stay with you, my girlfriend said before dumping me for a successful guy. 3 months later, she showed up at my house expecting me to be miserable. Instead, what she saw made her break down in tears. People think the worst part of getting dumped is being left. They're wrong. The worst part is hearing someone you would have done anything for explain exactly why they think you're not enough. My name is Tyler Dawson. I'm 31 years old, and 3 months was all it took to completely change my life. Not because I got rich, because I finally stopped trying to keep someone who had already decided I wasn't worth loving. I met Sophie at a mutual friend's birthday party almost 4 years ago. She was funny, outgoing, and the kind of woman who could start a conversation with absolutely anyone. Back then, I worked as an HVAC technician in Columbus, Ohio. The pay was decent, the work was steady, and I actually enjoyed fixing things. Sophie worked in luxury apartment leasing. She loved designer clothes, rooftop bars, and posting every expensive dinner on Instagram. At first, none of that bothered me. People enjoy different things. The problem started when social media became her measuring stick for life. Every night she'd scroll through videos of influencers showing off million-dollar homes and exotic vacations. Then she'd look at me. Do you ever think bigger? What do you mean? You've been an HVAC technician for 8 years. I know. Don't you want more? I like what I do. She'd sigh every single time. You have no ambition. That wasn't true. I just had different priorities. I'd rather own a paid-off house than lease a luxury car I couldn't afford. I'd rather save money than pretend to be wealthy. Apparently, that made me boring. Over the next year, the comments became constant. My friend's boyfriend surprised her with a trip to Greece. My coworker's fiancé bought her a Cartier bracelet. We've never even flown first class. I usually laughed it off. We're doing okay. I don't want okay. What do you want? She smiled. I want extraordinary. I didn't realize until much later. She confused expensive with extraordinary. Then one Friday night, she asked if we could talk. Anyone who's ever heard those words knows exactly how they end. She sat across from me at our kitchen table. No tears, no hesitation, just complete emotional detachment. I don't think we're compatible anymore. I stayed quiet. I've changed. No. I looked at her. You've just started saying what you've been thinking. She didn't even deny it. Instead, she leaned back in her chair. I've met someone. There it was. Who? Ethan. How long? A few weeks. So you cheated? No. She rolled her eyes. I emotionally moved on. I almost laughed. People come up with incredible names for betrayal when they don't want to call it cheating. What does he do? He owns several restaurants. I see. He understands the lifestyle I want. Then she stood up, picked up her purse, and looked me straight in the eyes. You're too broke, too boring, and too weak for any woman to stay with you. I wish I could tell you I had the perfect comeback. I didn't. I just sat there. She looked almost disappointed. I thought you'd fight for me. I smiled sadly. What's the point? You don't even care? I care. I looked around the apartment we'd shared. I just don't compete for people. She shrugged. Suit yourself. As she reached the door, she turned around one last time. I'll be honest. Okay. I settled for you because you were safe. Every sentence somehow hurt worse than the one before it. Then she left. I didn't chase her, didn't call, didn't text. I deleted her number that night. For the first week, I barely slept. Everything reminded me of her. The coffee mugs she'd picked. The blanket she'd insisted on buying. Even the stupid plant by the window she'd forgotten to take. My younger brother, Jake, finally got tired of watching me feel sorry for myself. He showed up one Saturday with 2 coffees and a trailer hitched to his truck. What are you doing? Packing. For what? You're moving. I'm not. You are. He tossed me a roll of packing tape. This apartment is full of memories. I signed another 6 months. So break the lease. I'm not wasting money. Jake laughed. You're worried about a lease after what just happened? By sunset, we'd packed almost everything. A month later, I bought a small fixer-upper outside the city. Not because it was impressive, because it was affordable. The place was rough. Peeling paint, old kitchen, broken fence. The previous owner had clearly stopped caring years ago. I looked at it and smiled. Not because of what it was, because of what it could become. Every evening after work, I picked one project. One room, one wall, one repair. I learned how to lay flooring by watching YouTube videos. Built my own kitchen cabinets. Refinished hardwood floors everyone told me to replace. Neighbors started stopping by. One offered me leftover bricks. Another gave me old landscaping tools. An elderly man across the street taught me how to restore the front porch swing. For the first time in years, I felt proud of something that had nothing to do with proving anyone wrong. Then something unexpected happened. I started filming the renovations. Not professionally, just short videos for fun. Jake convinced me to upload them. Nobody wants to watch me paint walls. You'd be surprised. The first video got 800 views. The second got 5,000. One clip showing me restoring a 100-year-old front door exploded. 3 million views. Brands started emailing me. Hardware stores offered sponsorships. People weren't watching because I was rich. They were watching because I was building something with my own hands. Within 2 months, my side income from renovation content was matching my HVAC salary. One Saturday morning, while I was installing flower beds in the front yard, my next-door neighbor walked over. "You've got company." I looked toward the driveway. A white Mercedes slowly pulled up. Sophie stepped out wearing oversized sunglasses and expensive heels. She looked around the property in complete disbelief. "This," she removed her sunglasses, "is your house?" I smiled. "Yep." She slowly looked at the restored porch, the new landscaping, the workshop I'd built in the garage, then at the camera mounted on a tripod near the driveway. "What are you filming?" "Today's renovation." She frowned. "I didn't know you did this." "I didn't either." She looked like she was trying to fit together two completely different versions of me. Then she quietly asked, "Can we talk?" I nodded. "Sure." I had no idea that she wasn't the only surprise waiting in my driveway that afternoon. I set my drill down and wiped the sawdust off my hands. "Sure, we can talk." Sophie looked relieved. For a moment, neither of us spoke. She kept looking around the property. The front porch had been completely rebuilt. The landscaping was finished. The old detached garage had been converted into a workshop where I filmed most of my renovation videos. It wasn't a mansion. It wasn't flashy. But every board, every brick, every cabinet had been built with my own hands. Finally, she broke the silence. I almost didn't recognize the place. I smiled. It didn't recognize itself either. She laughed awkwardly. "I've been watching your videos." That surprised me. "You have?" She nodded. "I didn't realize it was you at first." "Okay." When I figured it out, I couldn't believe it. I shrugged. "It's just home renovation." "No." She shook her head. "You have almost 2 million subscribers." I smiled politely. "They're just people who like DIY projects. And companies are sponsoring you." "Some are." She looked around again. "I guess things worked out." "They did." There was another long silence. Then she quietly admitted, "Ethan and I broke up." I wasn't shocked. I was just curious how long it had taken. "When?" "About 3 weeks ago." "I'm sorry to hear that." "You don't have to pretend." "I'm not pretending." She looked at me, confused. "I genuinely hope you find someone who makes you happy." Her eyes started watering. "I thought you'd hate me." "I did." She looked down. "For a while. But not anymore." She took a deep breath. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." I didn't answer. "He wasn't what I thought." "What happened?" "He liked showing me off." She forced a laugh. "Turns out expensive gifts come with expensive expectations." I already knew what she meant. "He cheated. Several times." "I'm sorry." He always reminded me that everything I had came from him. She looked around my house. You never made me feel like that. I stayed quiet. Then she said something I'd been expecting since she arrived. I miss us. There it was. Not, I miss you. I miss us. There's a difference. She stepped closer. I know I don't deserve another chance. No. I just. She looked at the porch swing I'd restored. I didn't realize what I had. Before I could respond, another car pulled into the driveway. Pickup truck. The driver's door opened. Out stepped a woman carrying 2 iced coffees and a paper bag. She smiled the second she saw me. I brought lunch. I smiled back. Perfect timing. She walked over, kissed me on the cheek, and handed me one of the coffees. Sophie stared at us. The woman looked at Sophie politely. Oh, sorry. Am I interrupting? Not at all. I turned toward Sophie. This is Hannah. Hannah was a middle school art teacher. I'd met her 2 months earlier after volunteering to help rebuild classrooms damaged by a storm. She had paint on her jeans more often than makeup. She laughed at terrible jokes. She thought my old pickup truck had character. Most importantly, she'd met me before she ever knew about my videos. Before she knew companies sponsored me. Before she knew how much I earned. She only knew the guy who spent his Saturdays helping strangers fix broken houses. Hannah smiled warmly. It's nice to meet you. Sophie managed a weak smile. You too. Hannah looked between us. I can wait in the truck if dash. No. I smiled. We're actually finished. Sophie looked at me. I guess I have my answer. I nodded gently. You do. She wiped a tear from her cheek. I really am sorry. I believe you. You do. Yes. She looked hopeful for half a second. Then I continued. But believing you're sorry doesn't mean I have to give you another opportunity to hurt me. She lowered her eyes. I understand. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't trying to punish her. That chapter of my life had already ended. As she turned to leave, I called after her. Sophie. She stopped. You remember what you said the day you left? She closed her eyes. I do. You said I was too broke. She nodded slowly. Too boring. Another nod. And too weak. She couldn't even look at me. I smiled not because I was mocking her, but because I finally understood something she never had. I wasn't broke. I was building. I wasn't boring. I was content. And I wasn't weak. I just loved someone who couldn't see my worth. She started crying. Not loudly, just quietly. The kind of tears that come when excuses finally run out. She whispered, I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me. I shook my head. No, you threw away someone who would have stayed through anything. There's a difference. She nodded once, got back into her Mercedes and drove away. I honestly thought that would be the last time I'd ever hear about her. It wasn't. About a month later, Jake sent me a screenshot from a local business news page. Ethan's restaurant group had filed for bankruptcy. The flashy lifestyle Sophie had chased had been financed almost entirely by debt. Luxury cars, private events, designer vacations. Most of it had been borrowed money. The image she'd fallen in love with disappeared almost overnight. Meanwhile, my life kept getting better. Not because of YouTube. That was just a bonus. My contracting business expanded after thousands of people saw the quality of my work online. I hired 6 more employees. Then 4 more. The house that everyone had called a dump became the nicest one on the block, not because it was the most expensive, but because every inch of it had a story. A year later, Hannah and I hosted a neighborhood barbecue in the backyard. As everyone laughed around the fire pit, my elderly neighbor, Mr. Collins, handed me an old framed photo. It showed the house exactly as it looked when I'd bought it. Rotting porch, overgrown weeds, broken windows. I figured you should keep this, he said, so you never forget where you started. I hung that photo in my workshop, not as a reminder of the house, as a reminder of myself. Sometimes people ask if Sophie motivated me to become successful. The truth? No. She motivated me to stop trying to earn love from people who measured human worth with a price tag. The success came later. Real revenge isn't becoming